In the next 24 hours, Prime Minister Modi and the Chinese President Xi Jinping will be meeting 6 times. The first round of meetings are underway. The two sides have described the visit as an informal summit where discussions will be on wide-ranging issues. The Prime Minister, who on Thursday night arrived in Wuhan, the capital of the Chinese province, began his meetings with President Xi at the Hubei Provincial Museum this morning. Vishnu Shom is in Wuhan and tracking all the details for us and is joining us on the phone line now. Vishnu, as you've been pointing out, this is the first of its kind informal summit and there is no fixed agenda for this. But what are the expectations out of this visit?
There are no expectations out of this visit, and that's a point that's been made quite clear. It's an opportunity for both leaders to meet and to talk about whatever it is they want to talk about while looking at the India-China relationship from a macro standpoint, to understand each other's worldview, to engage in talks between the two leaders at a strategic level. Now, this doesn't mean that they will not talk about the fallout of Doklam, or they will not talk about the China-Pakistan economic corridor, which is problematic for India, but it's unstructured. So these issues may or may not come up. It is essentially a show of faith by the leadership of both sides to engage one another. And the fact that that President Xi and Prime Minister Modi are meeting as often as they are, in fact 6 times over 2 days, seems to indicate the importance that both sides are giving to the process of trying to right the testy relationship between the two nations.
Right, Vishnu, but there were a series of high-level exchanges between the two sides post-Doklam over the last couple of months. Whether it was the foreign secretary or the foreign minister or the defense minister. So the work for this summit, in a sense, was going on behind, back-channel communication was on for this visit.
Well, it wasn't really background communication per se. Those were official meetings that took place. They were on-the-record meetings that took place. There was the Chinese Vice Foreign Minister who met India's Foreign Minister. The National Security Advisor had come across over here. The Indian Ambassador has been extremely heavily active. Then Vijay Gokhale, the Foreign Secretary, was India's last ambassador to Beijing. So all of these individuals have been looking at the possibility of a meeting like this happening, and obviously there was engagement to this end from Beijing as well. India and China have never stopped talking post-Doklam. In fact, I was in Beijing last year when the Doklam crisis ended, and since then the two leaders met in Xiamen for the BRICS summit. They've met elsewhere also. But this is quite important. It's quite interesting. Now, I should mention this is not the first time that President Xi is holding unstructured meetings. He's had unstructured meetings, informal meetings with both President Obama and President Trump of the United States, but those were short meetings. What we are trying to see now is a very extensive series of meetings over 2 days, and that sort of sets the stage, one would hope, for this testy relationship between the two countries being fixed. So obviously the substantive differences between India and China remain for the moment.
Right, Vishnu, thanks very much indeed for joining us with the very latest on that informal summit between the Prime Minister and the Chinese President Xi Jinping.